first drove the Focus RS Mark 1 just over a year ago before going on holiday, and it really left an impression. Even whilst I was away, I was thinking about how much fun it was to drive. I really maxed out the performance, but I didn't get a long time with the car, and having driven sports cars and other cars since, it's a car I wanted to spend more time with. So a few months ago I actually bought one. We're in it now. It's done just over 50,000 miles, good service history. It was a solid buy, and as these are going up in price, I thought now was a good time to get one. Really, it's a unique experience behind the wheel, so I take it for a drive and share my ownership thoughts with you. So now, compared to the Mark II Focus ST, this is actually pretty similar in terms of performance and horsepower. The Mark II is a little bit up, but in terms of how it feels to drive, I would say they're pretty different. The way the turbo kicks in, it's more like an old style turbo, spooling up and in a higher RPM, really just kicking the car forward. It suffers pretty bad from torque steer, but that just makes it more enjoyable to drive. You really have to have both hands on the wheel all the time, and after a little bit of driving you anticipate it, but it's not like a modern car where you can, different turbo variable valve turbos or twin turbo BMs, where you can anticipate that you're going to get a lot of power. This around 2,500, 3,000 RPM, it just kicks in and you're away. It's actually about 212 horsepower. Depending on where you look, it quotes 6.4, 5.9 seconds to 60. So it is quick, but it's not so much the speed, apart from how it makes you feel when you're driving it. It has a very clever front differential. It was the first front-wheel drive car to have it. So it's not a limited slip differential, but it acts in a similar way, and it just gives you a lot of grip and a lot of confidence coming out of corners. Having had a Cooper S before, I always used to suffer from you put your foot out going through a corner and the inside wheel just starts spinning. This has bigger tyres, and the way that they've set up the diff, you really can enjoy the performance a lot more. Even when the turbo kicks in coming out, if you don't have too much lock on, it just grips and goes. Yeah, really on the road, most roads, there's not much that would get away from it. So in terms of fun to drive and enjoyment, very good. Also in terms of ride comfort, it's not as bad as you might expect. I actually found the Mini considerably more uncomfortable. This, yeah, it's a hard ride, but it's not overly intrusive, and on longer journeys it doesn't get too annoying. This one hasn't been modified as well, which is why I like it. It's how Ford made it, same horsepower output, and really does go nicely. If you drop a gear and put your foot down, feel the turbo kicking. It has a shift light coming up at 6,000 RPM, so you change gear to optimum revs. But unlike an RX-8 or something, you don't really want to rev this out overly. If you just keep it in the sweet spot between around 3,000 and 5,000 RPM, you've got more than enough power. Goes very well. But I was surprised to find out it doesn't have a trip computer. I worked out my economy on a drive to and from Kent the other day, and about 230 miles on a tank, which works out less than 20 miles to the gallon. So that really is very poor. But then the point of this car isn't to drive around and get good fuel consumption, is to enjoy the drive, and that you certainly do. And the other cool thing with a hot hatch is you do have the practicality of the standard Focus, big boot. Yeah, okay, it's only 2 doors, but you still have decent space in the back, good leg room, the seats are comfortable. But really, who gives a fuck? The brakes, as we said, Brembo, they're something that really stand out. Going down hills, heavily braking, you don't really get any fade. It gives you so much confidence as well to, again, enjoy the performance. The way the gearing's set up, it's good for acceleration, keeping it in the turbo band. I reckon the car would actually achieve quite a bit of a higher top speed if you did gear it up, but it's not really necessary to, because you don't really just go fast than 146, 147 miles an hour, whatever it is. That's fine. Again, that would probably help economy, but it's not the point of the car whatsoever. It's a driver's car. It's designed to put a smile on your face, and that's what it does. So in terms of bad points, I wouldn't really say they're overly amount. You have the RPM gauge, speedo, fuel, as per usual. But instead of having the temperature gauge, you have the turbo boost gauge, which, yeah, that's cool, and I enjoy looking at it. But you've got a car like this, a performance car, really you want to know when the engine's warm so you can push it. And also I'd like to know if there's any problem if it's overheating or anything, which you're not made aware of through any of the dials. So that's something I would probably say the Ford could have done a bit differently there, because on the ST you have another 2 dials up here, which now you just have a compartment that you can't really use, wouldn't really use, it's a bit pointless. You could have more gauges there, get the job. We've got the fuel consumption, which is a bit thirsty. I'd like to have an extra dial there, give the driver a bit more information. The other thing, and I don't know, it's not necessarily a bad point for everyone, but something I have noticed is people tend to view the car and think it's like a chavvy boy racer car. They don't appreciate it unless they're that knowledgeable. For example, okay, this car won't look excellent in terms of your image parked up at the golf club. A BMW for similar money would, but for me, yeah, you've got a stigma about the perception the car's giving people. Fair enough, but it is a rewarding car to drive, and for me, I'll prioritise that higher up than the image of the car.